Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And lately, we've been reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the summum bonum of all Vedic literatures. You know, when Vyasadeva, after he edited the Vedas, the four Vedas, and compiled the Puranas, and the Upanishads, and finally the Vedanta Sutra, and wrote the Mahabharata. No human being can do that. And after he wrote the Vedanta Sutra, he still wasn't satisfied. And at that moment, Narada Muni showed up. Narada Muni is his spiritual master. And he asked him why he looked like he wasn't happy. And he said, "You tell me, because you can tell. You're my spiritual master. You can tell." What happened?
Yes.
Nothing? Okay. So then he said, you've written so many things, and because of the nature of this age, people will take advantage of the different things you've read and avoid the goal of it all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and pure devotional service to Him. So you should do that. So he went into trance. And in the trance, he saw Krishna, he saw the material energy, and the Bhagavatam was revealed to him. He's that kind of rishi that he can bring scripture into the world through his own heart, through meditation. So the Bhagavatam is the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta, Veda means knowledge, Anta means end, Sutra means concise. So the Vedanta Sutra is a concise summary of all the Vedas, conclusion of all the Vedas. And the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So that's what we're actually hearing. It helps to know what we're hearing, because now we're in the 9th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the 9th canto is very intense. It's got a whole bunch of different pastimes, a whole bunch of different stories about different things that happened in order to prepare us, to purify us, and prepare us finally for the 10th canto, where we get to hear directly about the original form of God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the source of all the other incarnations, source of the material world, the Lord of the spiritual world. So that's what we're doing here, and that's what we do here every day. And I made a vow to do it every day for the rest of my life, and so far so good. Knock on wood. Where's wood? Knock on wood. Good luck. May all of you out there and in here empower me to continue this every day, no matter what. Okay, enough of that. Let's hear what we hear every day before we recite the Bhagavatam, which is the Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam in the form of a stotra. It's a short prayer, 8 verses. Okay. It's called Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, and it's compiled and written by Srila Sanatana Goswami, the top authority, or one of the top authorities in our line, right next to Lord Chaitanya. Rupa and Sanatana, the two senior disciples of Lord Chaitanya. And it goes like this: Sarva Shastabdi Purusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwan Doditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the days of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Padaya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Bahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Sadhu Sadhuta Dayin Atini Chochata Kada Hanamunchagadachin Mam Premna Rit Kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So what a better way to spend the afternoon of the Sri Balaram Purnima than to hear of the Srimad-Bhagavatam together with the Vaishnavas. Shri Balaram ki jai. Shri Balaram Jayanti ki jai. Or Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. 14th chapter, King Pururava, Enchanted by Urvasi. This is another story that's going to teach us what not to do, because it's all there in the Bhagavatam. What to do, what not to do. It's necessary. The summary of this 14th chapter is given as follows. This chapter describes Soma and how he kidnapped the wife of Brihaspati and begot in her womb a son named Buddha. Buddha begot Pururava, who begot 6 sons, headed by Ayu in the womb of Urvasi. Lord Brahma was born from the lotus that sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Brahma had a son named Atri, and Atri's son was Soma, the king of all drugs and stars. Soma became the conqueror of the entire universe, and being inflated with pride, he kidnapped Tara, who was the wife of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. A great fight ensued between the demigods and the asuras, but Brahma rescued Brihaspati's wife from the clutches of Soma and returned her to her husband, thus stopping the fighting. In the womb of Tara, Soma begot a son named Buddha, who later begot in the womb of Ila a son named Ila, or Pururava. Urvasi was captivated by Pururava's beauty, and therefore she lived with him for some time. But when she left his company, he became almost like a madman. While traveling all over the world, he met Urvasi again at Kurukshetra, and she agreed to join with him only for one night in a year. One year later, Pururava saw Urvasi at Kurukshetra and was glad to be with her for one night. But when he thought of her leaving him again, he was overwhelmed by grief. Urvasi then advised Pururava to worship the Gandharvas. Being satisfied with Pururava, the Gandharvas gave him a woman known as Agnishtali. Pururava mistook Agnishtali for Urvasi, but while she was wandering in the forest, his misunderstanding was cleared, and he immediately gave up her company. After returning home and meditating upon Urvasi all night, he wanted to perform a Vedic ritualistic ceremony to satisfy his desire. Thereafter, he went to the same place where he had left Agnishtali, and there he saw that from the womb of a shami tree had come an ashwati tree. Pururava made 2 sticks from this tree and thus produced a fire. By such a fire, one can satisfy all lusty desires. The fire was considered the son of Pururava. In Satyayuga, there was only one social division, called Hamsa. There were no divisions of Varna, like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Veda was Omkara. The various demigods were not worshipped, for only the Supreme Personality of Godhead was the worshipable deity. Text 1. Srila Shukadev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, O king, thus far you have heard the description of the dynasty of the sun god. Now hear the most glorious and purifying description of the dynasty of the moon god. This description mentions kings like Aila, Pururava, of whom it is glorious to hear. Text 2. Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is also known as Sahasrashirsha Purusha. From the lake of his navel sprang a lotus on which Lord Brahma was generated. Atri, the son of Lord Brahma, was as qualified as his father. Text 3. From Atri's tears of jubilation was born a son named Soma, the moon, who was full of soothing rays. Lord Brahma appointed him the director of the Brahmanas, drugs, and luminaries. Purport. According to the Vedic description, Soma, the moon god, was born from the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chandama Manaso Jata. But here we find that Soma was born from the tears in the eyes of Atri. This appears contradictory to the Vedic information, but actually it is not. For this birth of the moon is understood to have taken place in another millennium. When tears appear in the eyes because of jubilation, the tears are soothing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Drigbhya anandashubhya ata eva mritamyaya. Here the word Drigbhya means from tears of jubilation. Therefore the moon god is called Amritamaya, full of soothing tears. In the fourth canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 4.1.15, we find this verse, Atre pat yanasuya trin yagye suya shashak sutan tatam durvasasam somam atmesha brahmasambhavan. This verse describes that Anusuya, the wife of Atri Rishi, bore 3 sons, Soma, Durvasa, and Dadatreya. It is said that at the time of conception, Anusuya was impregnated by the tears of Atri. Text 4. After conquering the 3 worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, Soma, the moon god, performed a great sacrifice known as the Rajasuya Yajna. Because he was very much puffed up, he forcibly kidnapped Brihaspati's wife, whose name was Tara. Text 5. Although requested again and again by Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, Soma did not return Tara. This was due to his false pride. Consequently, a fight ensued between the demigods, and the demigods and the demons are always fighting. Top to bottom, top of the universe down to the bottom, they find a place to fight. Text 6. Because of enmity between Brihaspati and Shukra, Shukra took the side of the moon god and was joined by the demons. But Lord Shiva, because of affection for his son, the son of his spiritual master, joined the side of Brihaspati and was accompanied by all the ghosts and hobgoblins. Purport. The moon god is one of the demigods, but to fight against the other demigods, he took the assistance of the demons. Shukra, being an enemy of Brihaspati, also joined the moon god to retaliate in wrath against Brihaspati. To counteract this situation, Lord Shiva, who was affectionate toward Brihaspati, joined Brihaspati. The father of Brihaspati was Angira, from whom Lord Shiva had received knowledge. Therefore, Lord Shiva had some affection for Brihaspati and joined his side in the fight. Sridhar Swami remarks, Angirasha sakashad praptidvidyo hara iti prasidaha. Lord Shiva is well known to have received knowledge from Angira. Text 7. King Indra, accompanied by all kinds of demigods, joined the side of Brihaspati. Thus there was a great fight, destroying both demons and demigods, only for the sake of Tara, Brihaspati's wife. Lesson number 1. Text 8. When Lord Brahma was fully informed by Angira about the entire incident, he severely chastised the moon god Soma. Thus Lord Brahma delivered Tara to her husband, who could then understand that she was pregnant. Text 9. Brihaspati said, "You foolish woman, your womb, which is meant for me to impregnate, has been impregnated by someone other than me. Immediately deliver your child. Immediately deliver it." Such a yuga. This is such a yuga. You can do things like this. You know? Be assured that after the child is delivered, I shall not burn you to ashes. I know that although you were unchaste, you wanted a son. Therefore, I shall not punish you. Purport. Tara was married to Brihaspati, and therefore, as a chaste woman, she should have been impregnated by him. But instead, she preferred to be impregnated by Soma, the moon god, and therefore she was unchaste. Although Brihaspati accepted Tara from Brahma, when he saw that she was pregnant, he wanted to deliver a son. He wanted her to deliver a son immediately. Tara certainly very much feared her husband, and she thought she might be punished after giving birth. Thus, Brihaspati assured her that he would not punish her, for although she was unchaste and become pregnant illicitly, she wanted a son. Text 10. Shukadev Goswami continued, by Brihaspati's order, Tara, who was very much ashamed, immediately gave birth to the child, who was very beautiful, with a golden bodily hue. Both Brihaspati and the moon god Soma desired the beautiful child. Whoops, here we go again. From one thing leads to another. Fighting again broke out between Brihaspati and the moon god, both of whom claimed, this is my child, not yours. All the saints and demigods present asked Tara whose child the newborn baby actually was. But because she was ashamed, she could not immediately answer. Text 12. The child then became very angry and demanded that his mother immediately tell the truth. You unchaste woman, he said, what is the use of your unnecessary shame? Why do you not admit your fault? Immediately tell me about your faulty behavior. From the mouths of babes, they say. Right? Text 13. Lord Brahma then brought Tara to a secluded place, and after pacifying her, he asked to whom the child actually belonged. She replied very slowly, this is the son of Soma, the moon god. Then the moon god immediately took charge of the child. Text 14. O Maharaj Parikshit, when Lord Brahma saw that the child was deeply intelligent, he gave the child the name Buddha. The moon god, the ruler of the stars, enjoyed great jubilation because of this son. Text 15 and 16. Thereafter from Buddha, through the womb of Ila, a son was born named Pururava, who was described in the beginning of the 9th canto. When his beauty, personal qualities, magnanimity, behavior, wealth, and power were described by Narada in the court of Lord Indra, the celestial woman, Urvasi, was attracted to him. Pierced by the arrow of Cupid, she thus approached him. Texts 17 and 18. Having been cursed by Mitra and Varuna, the celestial woman Urvasi had acquired the habits of a human being. Therefore, upon seeing Pururava, the best of males, whose beauty resembled that of Cupid, she controlled herself and then approached him. When King Pururava saw Urvasi, his eyes became jubilant in the ecstasy of joy, and the hairs on his body stood on end. With mild, pleasing words, he spoke to her as follows. Okay, now this is what not to do. Text 19. King Pururava said, "O most beautiful woman, you are welcome. Please sit here and tell me what I can do for you. You may enjoy with me as long as you desire. Let us pass our life happily in a sexual relationship." Text 20. Satyayuga. Urvasi replied, "O most handsome man, who is a woman whose mind and sight would not be attracted by you? If a woman takes shelter of your chest, she cannot refuse to enjoy with you in a sexual relationship." Purport. When a beautiful man and a beautiful woman unite together and embrace one another, how within these three worlds can they check their sexual relationship? Therefore, Srimad-Bhagavatam 7:9-45 says, "Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukham hituchcham." Text 21. My dear King Pururava, please give protection to these two lambs who have fallen down with me. Although I belong to the heavenly planets and you belong to the earth, I shall certainly enjoy sexual union with you. I have no objection to accepting you as my husband, for you are superior in every respect. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 540, Yasya Prabha Prabhabato Jagaranda Koti Kotishvashesha Vashudadi Vibhuti Binam. There are various planets and various atmospheres within this universe. The atmosphere of the heavenly planet from which Urvasi descended after being cursed by Mitra and Varuna was different from the atmosphere of this earth. Indeed, the inhabitants of the heavenly planets are certainly far superior to the inhabitants of earth. Nonetheless, Urvasi agreed to remain in the consort of Pururava, although she belonged to a superior community. A woman who finds a man with superior qualities may accept such a man as her husband. Similarly, if a man finds a woman who is from an inferior family, but who has good qualities, he can accept such a brilliant wife, as advised by Sri Chanakya Pandit. Stri Ratnam Dushkulad Api. The combination of male and female is worthwhile if the qualities of both are on an equal level. Text 22. Urvasi said, "My dear hero, only preparations made in ghee, clarified butter, will be my eatables, and I shall not want to see you naked at any time, except at the time of sexual intercourse." The great-minded King Pururava accepted these proposals. Text 23. Pururava replied, "O beautiful one, your beauty is wonderful, and your gestures are also wonderful. Indeed, you are attractive to all human society. Therefore, since you have come of your own accord from the heavenly planets, who on earth would not agree to serve a demigoddess such as you?" Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Purport. It appears from the words of Urvasi that the standard of living, eating, behavior, and speech are all different on the heavenly planets from the standards on this planet Earth. The inhabitants of the heavenly planets do not eat such abominable things as meat and eggs. Everything they eat is prepared in clarified butter, nor do they like to see either men or women naked, except at the time of sexual intercourse. To live naked or almost naked is uncivilized, but on this planet Earth, it has now become fashionable to dress half naked, and sometimes those like hippies live completely naked. Once he went to Morningside Ranch, north of San Francisco, and it was a nudist colony. And Prabhupada went there and sat down and gave a lecture. And there were a couple of prominent devotees living in a tree in that one. We won't talk about that. Okay. Indeed, there are many clubs and societies for this purpose. Such conduct is not allowed, however, on the heavenly planets. The inhabitants of the heavenly planets, aside from being very beautiful, both in complexion and bodily features, are well behaved and long living, and they eat first-class food and goodness. These are some of the distinctions between the inhabitants of the heavenly planets and the inhabitants of earth. Text 24. Shukadeva Goswami continued, the best of human beings, Pururava, began freely enjoying the company of Urvasi, who engaged in sexual activities with him in many celestial places, such as Chaityarat and Nandana Kanana, where the demigods enjoy. Text 25. Urvashi's body was as fragrant as the saffron of a lotus. Being enlivened by the fragrance of her face and body, Pururava enjoyed her company for many days with great jubilation. You see the Bhagavatam, 9th canto, purifying us from sexual desire. That's what's going on here. Purifying us, showing what the result is, as we'll see as the story unfolds. To purify us so that we can see Krishna. Text 26. Not seeing Urvashi and his assembly, the king of heaven, Lord Indra, said, without Urvashi, my assembly is no longer beautiful. Considering this, he requested the Gandharvas to bring her back to his heavenly planet. There you go. Text 27. Thus the Gandharvas came to earth, and at midnight, when everything was dark, they appeared in the house of Pururava and stole the 2 lambs entrusted to the king by his wife, Urvashi. Oops. Purport. The dead of night refers to midnight. Ratrer Madhyama Yamayo. 12 o'clock midnight is called the dead of night. Text 28. Urvashi treated the 2 lambs like her own sons. Therefore, when they were being taken by the Gandharvas and began crying, Urvashi heard them and rebuked her husband. Now I am being killed, she said, under the protection of an unworthy husband who is a coward and a eunuch, although he thinks himself a great hero. That's what happens to gentlemen. Text 29. Because I depended on him, the plunderers have deprived me of my 2 sons, the lambs, and therefore I am now lost. My husband lies down at night in fear, exactly like a woman, although he appears to be a man during the day. Hell hath no fury. Like Text 30. Pururava, stricken by the sharp words of Urvashi like an elephant struck by its driver's pointed rod, became very angry. Not even dressing himself properly, he took a sword in hand and went out naked into the night to follow the Gandharvas who had stolen the lamps. Oops! Text 31. After giving up the 2 lambs, the Gandharvas shone brightly like lightning, thus illuminating the house of Pururava. Urvashi then saw her husband running with the lambs in hand, but he was naked, and therefore she left. Don't get involved, gentlemen, don't get involved. No longer seeing Urvashi on his bed, Pururava was most aggrieved. Because of his great attraction for her, he was very much disturbed. Thus lamenting, he began traveling about the earth like a madman. Text 33. Once during his travels all over the world, Pururava saw Urvashi accompanied by 5 companions on the bank of the Saraswati at Kurukshetra. With jubilation in his face, he then spoke to her in sweet words as follows. O my dear wife, O most cruel one, kindly stay, kindly stay. I know that I have never made you happy until now, but you should not give me up for that reason. This is not proper for you. Even if you have decided to give up my company, let us nonetheless talk for some time. Text 35. O goddess, now that you have refused me, my beautiful body will fall down here, and because it is unsuitable for your pleasure, it will be eaten by foxes and vultures. 36. Urvasi said, my dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober and don't allow the senses to overcome you like foxes. Don't let the foxes eat you. In other words, you should not be controlled by your senses. Rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There is no use making friendship with women. Purport. Chanakya Pandit has advised Vishwaso naiva kartavya strishu rajakuleshu cha. Never place your faith in a woman or a politician. Unless elevated to spiritual consciousness, everyone is conditioned and fallen. What to speak of women, who are less intelligent than men? Women have been compared to Shudras and Vaishyas, Striyo, Vaishyas, Tata, Shudra. On the spiritual platform, however, when one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness, whether one is a man, woman, Shudra, or whatever, everyone is equal. There it is in black and white by Prabhupada. Otherwise, Urvasi, who was a woman herself and who knew the nature of women, said that a woman's heart is like that of a sly fox. If a man cannot control his senses, he becomes a victim of such sly foxes. But if one can control the senses, there is no chance of his being victimized by sly, fox-like women. Chanakya Pandit has also advised that if one has a wife like a sly fox, he must immediately give up his life at home and go to the forest. Mata yasya grihe nasti bharya chapriyavadini aranyam tenaganjavyam yataranyam tatagriham. Krishna conscious grihastas must be very careful of the sly fox woman. If the wife at home is obedient and follows her husband in Krishna consciousness, the home is welcome. Otherwise, one should give up one's home and go to the forest. Hitvatmapatam grihamandakupam vanam gato yad darim ashriyeta. One should go to the forest and take shelter of the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 37. Women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For their own pleasure, they can do anything irreligious, and therefore they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother. Purport. King Pururava was greatly attached to Urvasi, yet despite his faithfulness to her, she had left him. Now, considering that the king was wasting his rarely achieved human form of life, Urvasi, this is Urvasi speaking, Urvasi frankly explained the nature of a woman. Because of her nature, a woman can respond to even a slight offense from her husband by not only leaving him, but even killing him if required. To say nothing of her husband, she can even kill her brother. That is a woman's nature. Therefore, in the material world, unless women are trained to be chaste and faithful to their husbands, there cannot be peace or prosperity in society. And that does not go for devotee women who are actually Vaishnavas. Text 38. Women are very easily seduced by men. Therefore, polluted women give up the friendship of a man who is their well-wisher and establish false friendship among fools. Indeed, they seek newer and newer friends, one after another. Purport. Because women are easily seduced, the Manu Samhita enjoins that they should not be given freedom. A woman must always be protected, either by her father, by her husband, or by her elderly son. If women are given freedom to mingle with men like equals, which they now claim to be, They cannot keep their propriety. The nature of a woman, as personally described by Urvasi, is to establish false friendship with someone and then seek new male companions, one after another, even if this means giving up the company of a sincere well-wisher. Text 39. O my dear king, you will be able to enjoy with me as my husband at the end of every year for one night only. In this way, you will have other children, one after another. Purport. Although Urvasi had adversely explained the nature of woman, Maharaj Pururava was very much attached to her, and therefore she wanted to give the king some concession by agreeing to be his wife for one night at the end of each year. Text 40. Understanding that Urvasi was pregnant, Pururava returned to his palace. At the end of the year, there in Kurukshetra, he again obtained the association of Urvasi, who was then the mother of a heroic son. Having regained Urvasi at the end of the year, King Pururava was most jubilant, and he enjoyed her company and sex for one night. But then he was very sorry at the thought of separation from her. So Urvasi spoke to him as follows. She's quite a guru, this Urvasi. Text 42. Urvasi said, my dear king, seek shelter of the Gandharvas, for they will be able to deliver me to you again. In accordance with these words, the king satisfied the Gandharvas by prayers, and the Gandharvas, being pleased with him, gave him an Angishtali girl who looked exactly like Urvasi. Thinking that the girl was Urvasi, the king began walking with her in the forest, but later he could understand that she was not Urvasi, but Agnishtali. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Pururava was very lusty. Immediately after getting the Agnishtali girl, he wanted to have sex with her. But during sexual intercourse, he could understand that the girl was Agnishtali, not Urvasi. This indicates that every man attached to a particular woman knows the particular characteristics of that woman during sex life. Thus, Pururava understood during sexual intercourse that the Agnishtali girl was not Urvasi. Text 43. King Pururava then left Agnishtali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvasi. In the course of his meditation, the Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the three Vedas, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within his heart. Purport. It is said, Tretayam yajato makai. In Treta Yuga, if one performed yajnas, he would get the results of those yajnas. By performing Vishnu yajna specifically, one could even achieve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, yajna is intended to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Pururava was meditating upon Urvasi, the Treta Yuga began, and therefore the Vedic yajnas were revealed in his heart. But Pururava was a materialistic man, especially interested in enjoying the senses. Yajnas for enjoyment of the senses are called karma kandiya yajnas. Therefore he decided to perform karma kandiya yajnas to fulfill his lusty desires. In other words, karma kandiya yajnas are meant for sensuous persons, whereas yajna should actually be performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Kali Yuga, the Sankirtan Yajna is recommended. Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. Only those who are very intelligent take to Sankirtan Yajna to fulfill all their desires, material and spiritual, whereas those who are lusty for sense enjoyment perform Karmakanda Yajnas. Text 44 and 45. When the process of fruitive yajna became manifest within his heart, King Pururava went to the same spot where he had left Agnishtali. There he saw that the womb of a shami tree and an ashwata tree had grown. There he saw that from the womb of a shami tree, an ashwata tree had grown. He then took a piece of wood from that tree and made it into 2 aranis. Desiring to go to the planet where Urvasi resided, he chanted mantras, meditating upon the lower arani as Urvasi and the upper one as himself, and the piece of wood between them as his son. In this way he began to ignite a fire. Purport. The Vedic fire for performing yajna was not ignited with ordinary matches or similar devices. Rather, the Vedic sacrificial fire was ignited by the aranis, or 2 sacred pieces of wood, which produce fire by friction with a third. Such a fire is necessary for the performance of yajna. If successful, a yajna will fulfill the desire of its performer. Thus, Pururava took advantage of the process of yajna to fulfill his lusty desires. He thought of the lower arani as Urvasi, the upper one as himself, and the middle one as his son. A relevant Vedic mantra quoted herein by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Shami Garbhad Agnim Manta. A similar mantra is Urvasham Urasi Pururava. Pururava wanted to have children continuously by the womb of Urvasi. His only ambition was to have sex life with Urvasi and thereby get a son. In other words, he had so much lust in his heart that even while performing yajna, he thought of Urvasi instead of thinking of the master of yajna, Yajneshwara, Lord Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Text 46. From Pururava's rubbing of the aranis came a fire. By such a fire one can achieve all success in material enjoyment and be purified in seminal birth, initiation, and in the performance of sacrifice, which are invoked with the combined letters A-U-M. Thus the fire was considered the son of King Pururava. Purport. According to the Vedic process, one can get a son through semen, shukra, one can get a bona fide disciple through initiation, savitra, or one can get a son or disciple through the fire of sacrifice, yajna. Thus, when Maharaj Pururava generated the fire by rubbing the aranis, the fire became his son. Either by semen, by initiation, or by yajna, one may get a son. The Vedic mantra Omkara, or Pranava, consisting of the letters A-U-M, can call each of these 3 methods into existence. Therefore, the words Nirmantanaj Jata indicate that by rubbing of the aranis, a son was born. Text 47. By means of that fire, Pururava, who desired to go to the planet where Urvasi resided, performed a sacrifice, by which he satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the enjoyer of the results of sacrifice. Thus he worshipped the Lord, who is beyond the perception of the senses and is the reservoir of all the demigods. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktadam Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Any loka or planet to which one wants to go is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the enjoyer of the performance of sacrifice. The purpose of yajna is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, as we have explained many times, the yajna of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only sacrifice that can satisfy the Supreme Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, one can fulfill any desire, material or spiritual. Bhagavad Gita 3:14 also says, Yagyad Bhavati Parjanya. By offering sacrifices to Lord Vishnu, one can have sufficient rainfall. When there is sufficient rainfall, the earth becomes fit to produce everything. Sarva kama dugha mahi. One can utilize the land if one can utilize the land properly, one can get all the necessities of life from the land, including food grains, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. Everything one gets for material wealth is produced from the earth, and therefore it is said, Sarva kama durga mahi. Bhagavatam 1:10-4. Everything is possible by performing yajna. Therefore, although Pururava desired something material, he factually performed yajna to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is at Hoksaja, beyond the perception of Pururava and everyone else. Consequently, some kind of yajna must be performed to fulfill the desires of a living entity. Yajnas can be performed in human society only when society is divided by varnashrama dharma into 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. Without such a regulative process, no one can perform yajnas, and without the performance of yajnas, no material plans can make human society happy at any time. Everyone should therefore be induced to perform yajnas. In this age of Kali, the yajna recommended is Sankirtan, the individual or collective chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This will bring the fulfillment of all necessities for human society. Text 48. In the Satya Yuga, the first millennium, all the Vedic mantras were included in one mantra, Pranava, the root of all Vedic mantras. In other words, the Atharva Veda alone was the source of all Vedic knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, was the only worshipable deity. There was no recommendation for worship of the demigods. Fire was one only, and the only order of life in human society was known as Hamsa. In other words, everyone was Paramahamsa in Satyayuga, at least at the beginning. Purport. In Satyayuga, there was only one Veda, not 4. Later, before the beginning of Kali Yuga, this one Veda, the Atharva Veda, or some say the Yajur Veda, was divided into 4, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, for the facility of human society. In Satyayuga, the only mantra was Omkara, Om Tat Sat. The name Omkara, the same name Omkara, is manifest in the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot utter Omkara and get the desired result. But in Kali Yuga, almost everyone is a Shudra, unfit for pronouncing the Pranava, Omkara. Therefore the Shastras have recommended the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Omkara is a mantra or Mahamantra, and Hare Krishna is also a Mahamantra. The purpose of pronouncing Omkara is to address the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And the purpose of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the same. Hare, O energy of the Lord. Krishna, O Lord Krishna. Hare, O energy of the Lord. Rama, O Supreme Lord, O Supreme Enjoyer. The only worshipable Lord is Hari, who is the goal of the Vedas. Vedaish Chasarvarda Aham Eva Vedyaha. By worshipping the demigods, one worships the different parts of the Lord. Just as one might water the branches and twigs of a tree. But worshipping Narayana, the all-inclusive Supreme Personality of Godhead, is like pouring water on the root of the tree, thus supplying water to the trunk, branches, twigs, leaves, and so on. In Satyayuga, people knew how to fulfill the necessities of life simply by worshipping Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same purpose can be served in this age of Kali by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, as recommended in the Bhagavatam. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya muktasanga param brajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes free from the bondage of material existence and thus becomes eligible to return home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. And we'll stop our reading there for tonight. One more verse, then let's do it. 49. O Maharaj Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, King Pururava inaugurated a karma kanda sacrifice. Thus Pururava, who considered the yogic fire his son, was able to go to Gandharva Loka as he desired. Purport. In Satya Yuga, Lord Narayana was worshipped by meditation. Krite yad jayato Vishnum. Indeed, everyone always meditated upon Lord Vishnu, Narayana, and achieved every success by this process of meditation. In the next yuga, Treta Yuga, the performance of yajna began. Tretayam yajato mukai. Therefore this verse says, Trayi Treta Mukhe. Ritualistic ceremonies are generally called fruitive activities. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that in Treta Yuga, beginning in the Swayambhuva Manvantara, ritualistic fruitive activities were similarly manifested from Priyavrata, etc. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 14th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled King Pururava, Enchanted by Urvasi. Haribol. All right. Time for our open mic session. Any point that's come out, there are lots of interesting points in this one. Anything that stuck in your mind, hopefully not the wrong things stuck in your mind, and or maybe it's good that the wrong thing gets stuck in your mind so you won't do it. And then if you want to inquire more or you want to give reflections on it, you want to discuss it further, please let us know. Yes, Pranahari, the exemplar brahmachari.
I thought it interesting that because when we hear these pastimes from the Bhagavatam, it's meant to give us the experience without experiencing it.
Yes.
Experience through hearing. And so one point that I'd like to just reflect on was how, although the material enjoyment, from one perspective is considered enjoyment, certainly King Pururava was having some sort of sensual enjoying experience, but it's never unencumbered by the distresses which it's always coupled. It's like a package deal, I guess, to say that you can't just have one without the other. It's the sexual gratification is the entire experience, and so I think that's the fantasy of the material fantasy, is that I can just have that without the other distresses, but that's just not the truth.
The law of nature, for every pleasure there is a distress, and you have to have both. One comes with the other. It's exactly like you say. We're supposed to learn by hearing these pastimes. And the trouble you have to take. There's a verse, huh? The trouble you have to take to do that is worth the problem that you. Anyway, it's then the trying to solve that problem is worth the problem itself, and it goes on Satya Yuga. In Satya Yuga, everyone is Paramahansa, but because of this nature, the material nature, and it's always evolving, it's always increasing in complexity due to the activities of the human beings, especially, who are the ones that are incurring the karma. And then Treta Yuga came, and he went from being, Paramahansa or Hansa to get what he wanted to Treta Yuga, sacrificed, and then he just continued the same thing, just a different process. And his life became more and more complicated and more complicated. And there's no end to it. That's the point. Until one gives it up, there's no end to it. Therefore, the goal of the Varnashram Dharma, the goal of knowledge, the goal of everything Vedic culture is eventually to give up sex. Because as long as you have that desire in your heart, you have to come back into this material world. Sure. Sure as death.
I was also recalling in the 11th canto, I think it's chapter 26, the Aila Gita. It's King Pururava comes back, and I guess he goes to the Gandharva Loka and enjoys more with Urvasi, but then eventually he gets burnt out, and
he sees the light eventually.
Yeah, then he gives this whole
soliloquy.
Yeah, about how insane it is to follow the senses, and how one has to take shelter of the devotees of the Lord.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the purpose of the Bhagavatam, to take us through all of these different adventures and all of these different problems, and to convince us that eventually there's only Krishna. Mamekam Sharanam Bhajam. Yes, Jorge, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting and kind of amazing that even Urvasi was kind of like explaining to him like the truth of the nature, and even then he was just so attached, and I guess sometimes, like, even after knowing that that there's going to be consequences, either our mind will tell us that, oh, it's okay, it'll be worth it, or maybe I can adjust in such a way where I won't have to go through these consequences, but we're still going to have to go through these consequences. But our mind kind of is just so attached to these things that it just makes us completely foolish.
It drives us mad.
Yeah.
That's the verse. Yes, my dear Kuvera.
When we are reading these verses about the Urvasi and Pururava, I just thought of Bilbangar Thakur and the prostitute, no?
Yes.
Where he was so much attracted to the prostitute, and the prostitute advised him, you are so much attracted to these bones and this skin, so if you spend the same amount of time for the Lord, your life will be so much different, and you can please the Lord. So this thought came into my mind.
Yes, exactly. Same lesson again and again, because it's so powerful. And if we don't hear it again and again, time will cause us to forget. That's the nature of the material world. And the reason for that is that the mind acts like a hard drive. Whatever goes in, it stays there. It's like a, what do they call that? When you store something. Storage? No, it's something else. Archive. It archives. It archives everything. It goes into subtle side, but it's there. It's just you can't access it. It's like you're getting an updated computer, and the other part of it goes into the computer before. You can't access it. So it's there, and therefore it can come up at any time. Things can come up at any time. Yes. Therefore, you have to hear again and again. That's the reason.
So, which means that whatever is going in your mind and is archived, okay, the only way to get it out would be to dilute it. by better thoughts or good thoughts.
No,
which
that's
is-
payush. No, you can't dilute it with better thoughts. Yeah, the principle is good, but it has to be thoughts of the Supreme Lord, because only the Supreme Lord, remembrance of the Supreme Lord, the sound of the Supreme Lord's name, etc., has the potency to deliver pure devotional service. Is the only thing that can purify the root of those things. Because eventually you have to give up your subtle body. And the Maha Mantra, chanted without offense, dissolves the subtle body, the material subtle body, and allows the spiritual mind and the spiritual sense. Because it's not just, it's everything. It's what you touch, it's what you hear, it's what you smell, it's what you taste. All the sensual input, it all goes into the subtle body. And what does it do? It manufactures material desires. That's the whole gist of it. All the sensual experience that goes in, it goes into to the subtle body, and the subtle body manufactures different material desires with all those memories, with all those impressions of the sensual activities that you've done while you're in the material world. Therefore, Kapila Dev told Devahuti, who brought up the point, how is it possible to purify and to disassociate the intelligence and the consciousness in the subtle body? I can understand I'm not the gross body, that's pretty easy to understand. But how the soul and the consciousness and the intelligence and the subtle, it's all merged together. He said, that's too much. How to deal with that? And Kapila Dev, what did he say? Do you remember, anybody?
Bhakti dissolves the soul.
He said, therefore you have to hear with great effort for a long time from the right source and go on hearing. Because eventually that will allow you to see the difference between the mind and the self, intelligence and the self, false ego and the self. And as we were saying before, when it goes from Satya Yuga, when he was meditating, then he had to go to sacrifice, yajna, then it goes to deity worship, and then it goes to Harinam. So in the Kali Yuga, we're so fallen, the direct holy name, the Maha Mantra of the holy names of Krishna. You notice the Satya Yuga, the Maha Mantra was Omkara, But in the Kali Yuga, the Maha Mantra is the Hare Krishna mantra, which has Radha and Krishna's names. And Omkara is contained within it because they are the source of all sounds, including Omkara. And it's the only sound vibration that's elevated enough and strong enough to deal with the Kali Yuga souls and the Kali Yuga minds and the things that we have to purify.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Yes, Prana.
We hear about the different levels of intelligence: first class intelligence, second class, third
I
class.
thought of this. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So the first class intelligence can learn by hearing.
Yes.
So you just mentioned that verse from Kapila Dev about how we have to hear for a long time
Yes.
from the right source.
Seriously.
So that process is that considered the first class intelligence?
Yes. Or another way of saying it is, a first class intelligence can learn by that process.
Mm.
But the second class intelligence won't be able to learn from that process. They'll have to go through it. They'll have to do the wrong thing and then get the result. And then second class is then you correct yourself. And the third class is you hear it, you see it, you experience it, and you still don't correct yourself. Therefore it says, those with first class intelligence, they take to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Seems like a story like this in the Bhagavatam is really trying to teach us not to go through the experience. It's very beneficial if we take it in the right way.
Extremely. Now what do you think, Sarva, about the placement of it? The placement of it at the 9th canto, more than halfway through the 9th canto. That's what I thought was interesting. Yeah, because we're supposed to have already learned all that, but the Bhagavatam is saying, okay, just in case you forgot, don't forget this. Or forget this, rather. Because it's so powerful. The whole purpose of that pastime is to explain how powerful sensual desire is. It just bewilders the senses and the mind. And don't think, oh well, I'll go to the heavenly planets and then I'll be okay. Forget it. It's even worse there, because the setup is more conducive to it there and they forget all these. They don't know any. They can't. They get so bewildered with it. What happened before, Brigupati and Soma and stealing of the wife and then, fighting over the child, and it's material existence. That is material existence in a nutshell. So we need to withdraw ourselves from those kinds of conflicts. And you cannot retract yourself or withdraw yourself from those kinds of conflicts unless you're actually meditating or taking shelter of Krishna and the holy name. You can't be doing it mechanically and withdraw yourself from these kinds of materialistic conflicts. Because they're there and they will be there. In the Kali Yuga they will be more and more. Therefore the lesson is, we must learn how to chant without offense. We must get the Shuddhanam. Therefore Bhaktivinoda says, if you can just beg the Shuddhanam, then you gain perfection. That should be the desire when you chant. Please accept me. Don't reject me. Give me Shuddhanam, please. Allow me to chant one name purely. That's the supreme yogya. Kali Yuga. In any yuga, but particularly in Kali Yuga, because it's the only one that works. We got something from cyberspace?
Yes, Maharaj. We have one question by Rati.
Hare Krishna, Rati.
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. Tonight we heard a lot about the highs and lows of the pleasures of sex life, and about the importance of giving it up altogether if we ever want to get out of the material world. I was wondering if you would like to give us some advice about how we can battle the desires for subtle sexual desires, like profit, adoration, and distinction.
Give it to Krishna. Ramananda Roy answered Lord Chaitanya's question, what is real fame? And Ramananda Roy answered, real fame is to be famous as a great devotee. So if you've got desire for profit, ambition, those kinds of things, adoration, then become a pure devotee. If you become a pure devotee, those things will follow you around, even if you don't want them. Madhavendra Puri, he just disappeared whenever it looked like something really far would happen, like the deity stole the sweet rice for him, and he just ran away in the middle, oh, if I stay here the next morning, everybody's going to pay attention to me, so he just ran away. It's, sannyas is actually an intense experience. We can again get entangled because the opportunity for adoration and those things is very strong. The other day, on birthday, I got to sit there and listen to all these things, and I'm saying, that isn't me. What's this? Difficult. It's the most difficult thing. So therefore, and I learned this many years ago, you have to give it on, you have to pass it on to your spiritual master. You can't hold it for yourself. You can't hold it on and enjoy That the only reason you're sitting here is because of the mercy of your spiritual master. And everything that's given is given to you. Then you don't feel agitated by it. That's my personal experience. You don't feel agitated by it. And just the opposite, you get spiritual strength from it. And by the association of the devotees who are purely, worshipping. You get strength, you get punya, you get, not just punya, punya is not a good word, you get spiritual credits. So that's the answer to the question. To avoid subtle sex, you have to give your subtle body to Krishna. There's no other solution. Control the mind, then the other senses become controlled. Mind's not controlled, none of the other senses can be controlled. Thinking, feeling, willing, acting. The first three are in the mind, the last one's by the senses. Man mana baba mad bhakto, majaji mam namaskuru. It's as simple as that. Always think of Krishna, worship Krishna, be Krishna's devotee, offer homage to Krishna. And Krishna says, and you'll come to me. I guarantee it. That's right before Sarvadharma Parityajya, the verse before it, and that's at the end, and in the middle, at the end of the Most Confidential Knowledge chapter, chapter 9, it's at the end of that chapter. And then it goes right to Krishna's glories, 10th chapter. And then Krishna shows Arjuna the Dhammabijanati at the end of the 11th chapter, only by pure devotional service unto me. Then the 12th chapter. Be equipoised. Don't become the enemy of your enemy. Don't be envious. Be the friend of everyone. Always be everyone's well-wisher. Don't become disturbed by happiness and distress and all those things. It's right there in the Gita. It's so clear how to do that. Now it's up to us to do it. But what we have to do is made clear in the Gita. The application may be difficult, but the truth of it is simple, clear, straightforward. Okay, with that I'm going to stop because we have, yes, back to Doug. There's more.
She had one follow-up question.
Follow-up question.
The other one. She said, in regards to what you said about the placement of this sensual story in the 9th canto, it reminded me of what I heard and saw about the temples in South India, where before one is able to get darshan of the Lord, one sometimes needs to stand in line for many hours, looking at statues of devas engaging in all types of sexual acts, like a final test of temptation.
Yes.
Is this a correct understanding?
Yes. Exactly. In order to be qualified, you have to give up desire. That's it. Okay, we'll stop there. Shri Balaram ki jai. Shri Balaram Jayanti ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. See you tomorrow night, 6:30, same place, same station here, live studios at Radha Lane. Hare Krishna.